Have you ever thought that a player could compete against something more difficult than an opponent, more complex than a tactical system, against time itself? Because that is exactly what Lionel Messi is doing in the MLS. And what's truly striking is not that this is said by a fan, or a journalist, or someone who lives off easy impact. It's said by Cole Palmer, a footballer who represents the new generation, who competes at the highest level, and who understands perfectly what modern football demands. Palmer shared something that seems simple, almost every day, but actually says much more than it appears. He said that every time he opens his phone and checks the results, the pattern repeats itself. Messi scored again, Messi assisted again, Messi was decisive again. And then he dropped a line that changes the whole perspective. It's no longer surprising to see him there. What's surprising is that he keeps doing it as if it were normal. That's the point. Because one thing is to appear in the headlines once in a while, and something very different is to do it as if it were part of the scenery. At 38 years old, in a game that keeps getting faster, more physical, more aggressive, Palmer was clear. He said that what Messi does doesn't fit the logic of today's game, that his goals and his decisions feel like they belong to another era. Yet they work better than ever. And he summed it up with a simple, almost generational phrase: he plays as if time doesn't affect him. That idea goes beyond goals. It speaks about reading the game, about calm, about knowing exactly when to accelerate and when to downshift. It speaks about football intelligence. Because Messi no longer competes through physical power or constant explosiveness. He competes with his mind, and even so, he keeps making the difference. For years it was said that the MLS would be a comfortable setting, a league to slow things down and close out a career without too much demand. Messi took that prejudice and tore it apart. He didn't just arrive in the MLS, he made it relevant. Today the league is talked about all over the world because of what he does every weekend, because of the expectation he creates every time he touches the ball. And Palmer understands it from a very clear place. From someone who grew up watching Messi and now sees him with different eyes. The years go by, but his influence stays the same. That phrase is key. Because we don't see a diminished Messi, or one hiding or one managing his presence. We see him as the axis, the reference point, the player who decides when and how a match breaks open. If we think about it calmly, the question is inevitable. How many players from his generation are still real protagonists? Most have already retired, others play secondary roles, some became symbols of the past. Messi, on the other hand, is still at the center. His team plays according to him, the league organizes itself around his presence, and the crowd responds as if every match were special. That's where an uncomfortable reflection appears. Today, football isn't measured only in titles. It's measured in impact, in attention, in conversation, in the ability to make someone who doesn't follow a league become interested just to watch one player. And in that sense, Messi is still alone. What Cole Palmer says carries particular weight because it comes from direct competition, from someone who lives today's football. Constant pressure, high tempo, extreme physical demands. It's not nostalgia, it's recognition. And when someone from his generation says that, the message is clear. What Messi does is not normal. Every weekend something new appears. An impossible pass, an unexpected decision, a goal that doesn't seem logical. And whenever someone doubts, Messi answers in the only way he knows how. On the pitch. No speeches, no statements, just football. Palmer summed it up in a simple way, almost bluntly. This shouldn't be happening. And he's right. It's not common to see a player at this stage of his career still making such a difference. It's not common that instead of fading, he keeps lighting up matches. It's not common that he enjoys competing this much. And then the inevitable question appears. Until when? How long can he sustain this level? How long can he keep challenging time, logic, statistics? No one knows. But we do know one thing. This doesn't happen often. Messi isn't closing a career. He's stretching a story. He's proving that real talent doesn't have an expiration date. And as long as he keeps stepping onto a pitch, and all of this keeps happening, football will keep that unique ability to surprise us. There's also something Palmer highlights that many overlook. The way Messi controls matches without imposing himself physically. Today, he doesn't compete through speed or contact. He competes through rhythm control. He manages time as if the match were a board game, and he knew exactly when to move each piece. In the MLS, it's very clear. There are moments when he seems to disappear. He lets the game flow, and then, suddenly, with a single intervention, he changes everything. A through ball, a quick 1-2, a precise finish. He doesn't need to pile up actions. One is enough. That's what confuses opponents, and what younger players admire, because playing like that can't be trained. You either understand it, or you don't. Many say all of this has to do with a less demanding league. But that reading is superficial. Football doesn't become simple just because physical intensity drops. It becomes more complex because of space, disorder, mistakes. And that's where Messi thrives. Where others rush, he pauses. Where others force it, he decides. There's an image that keeps repeating. Messi receives the ball surrounded, lowers his head for a second, and when he looks up, the play is already solved. The pass goes where no one expects it. That's not youth. That's accumulated experience. And there's another dimension Palmer values especially. Messi doesn't just play well, he makes others play better. He organizes, gives confidence, gives time. Teammates who didn't stand out before are now decisive, not by magic, but because someone understands the game for them. That's why his impact goes beyond numbers. When Messi steps onto the pitch, everything changes. The match settles, the crowd waits, opponents adjust. Not out of fear, but out of respect. And here, a truth that's hard to avoid appears. When Messi retires, it won't just leave a sporting void. It will leave a symbolic one. Because we're not just watching a footballer. We're watching a figure that defined an era. Cole Palmer, without saying it directly, makes it clear. Messi is an exception, something that shouldn't exist at this age. And yet, it does. He keeps deciding matches, keeps being influential, keeps being the name everyone looks to when the score is tight. Maybe that's why each of his matches feels different. Not because it's the last one, but because it could be one of the last. And that feeling changes how we watch football. Because when Messi stops playing, there will be great players. But not one who combines history, talent, impact, and longevity in this way. That's why, beyond the MLS, beyond Miami, beyond titles, what we're witnessing is something that will be missed. A way of understanding the game, a way of deciding without imposing, of winning without noise, of dominating through intelligence. Now I ask you, do you think Messi can maintain this level until the end of his MLS contract? Or are we witnessing the final chapters of an unrepeatable era? I'll read you in the comments.